Long ago, during the Joseon dynasty, in a quiet province nestled between green hills and slow rivers, there lived a respected nobleman named Kim Jin-sung. He was known as a man of virtue and order, the kind whose house was lined with books and whose every word was measured with care. He had 2 daughters, Janghwa, the elder, and Hongryeon, the younger. Their mother, a woman of gentle spirit and quiet grace, had passed away shortly after giving birth to Hongryeon. The girls grew up in mourning robes, raised by their father's love and the fading memories of their mother's voice. Janghwa was named for the red rose, and Hongryeon for the lotus flower. The names suited them well. Janghwa was elegant and poised, while Hongryeon was soft-spoken and bright. Together, they were the heart of their father's home, and despite the absence of their mother, their early years were peaceful. But time, like water, wears even the most patient stone. As the girls grew older, the elders in the village whispered to Kim Jin-sung that a household without a proper lady was a house lacking harmony. After many years, he agreed to remarry. His new wife, Lady Beck, was from a modest but ambitious family. She entered the household with polished manners and words soaked in honey, but her gaze was sharp. She bore Kim Jin-sung a son soon after the marriage, and from that day on, the warmth she showed the girls began to wither. In private, Lady Beck began to criticize the sisters for their appearance, their speech, their habits. She would scold them for imagined faults, ration their meals, and forbid them from leaving the estate. The once cheerful home now echoed with silences and sighs. Kim Jin-sung, once attentive and loving, grew distant. Lady Beck's influence coiled around him like smoke, subtle but choking. When the sisters tried to speak up, they were met with cold rebukes and punishment for disobedience. Janghwa turned 15, and with age came a quiet sorrow. Her once bright laughter had dulled, her posture more reserved. It was then that Lady Beck conceived her cruelest plan. One summer evening, after the household had gone to sleep, she crept into Janghwa's room and placed a piece of raw animal liver beneath her blanket. The next morning, she raised a loud alarm. "She's with child! My husband, your daughter, has shamed your name. Look what she has hidden in her bed." Kim Jin-sung, horrified and shamed before the servants, could not see reason. Blinded by outrage, he demanded to know who the father was. Janghwa, too stunned to speak, could only cry. He would not listen. That very day, he dragged her out of the estate, past the gates, past the village, and toward the forest's edge. There, overlooking a small pond where his first wife used to walk, he pushed her away. Janghwa, sobbing, stumbled toward the water. Whether by intent or despair, she fell, and the pond swallowed her whole. Days passed. Her body was recovered with lily blossoms tangled in her hair. The household held a simple funeral. No music, no offerings, just a quiet burial, and whispers behind closed doors. Without her sister, Hongryeon grew pale and thin. The only light left in her world had been extinguished. Lady Beck now turned her cruelty fully on the youngest daughter, accusing her of laziness, madness, and deceit. One rainy afternoon, the servants found Hongryeon at the bottom of the stairs. Her neck was broken. Lady Beck claimed it was an accident. The father did not weep. He ordered her burial in the same unmarked corner of the family plot. And so the house fell silent. But silence does not always mean peace. Not long after, strange occurrences began. Servants spoke of soft weeping at night, of lotus petals appearing on windowsills, of wet footprints across dry floors. The nobleman began to dream. In his sleep, he would see two girls, dressed in mourning white, their faces pale, their eyes filled with sorrow. They stood at the foot of his bed, whispering words he could not bear to hear. "Why did you not believe us?" Lady Beck, growing paranoid, refused to sleep alone. She burned talismans, called for shamans, and ordered a wall to be built near the pond. But the dreams only grew worse. Years passed. Lady Beck's son came of age. Kim Jin-sung, now grayer and quieter than ever, rarely left his chambers. Then one day, a new magistrate arrived to govern the province. He was young, sharp, and unafraid of shadows. When he heard of a house with whispers in the night and daughters who died too young, he asked questions. He visited the Kim estate, observed the servants, and stayed the night. At midnight, the candle in his chamber flickered. The paper door rustled, though no wind blew. And then they came. Janghwa and Hongryeon. Their robes were damp. Their hair hung long. Their eyes no longer held sorrow, only clarity. They told their story in full, of their stepmother's cruelty, of the false accusations, of the pond, of the stairs. The magistrate, grave and unmoving, nodded once. "Your names will be cleared." The next morning he summoned Lady Beck to court. She laughed when she heard the charges. "Are we accusing ghosts now? Should I stand trial for dreams?" But the magistrate had evidence. The servants who remembered bruises, the hidden liver bones found in the kitchen pit, the midwife who had been dismissed without cause. Lady Beck was found guilty of slander, abuse, and murder by manipulation. She was banished from the province, her name struck from all family records. Kim Jin-sung, broken by guilt, resigned from all official posts and lived out his days in quiet penance. The magistrate ordered 2 new graves to be built, side by side, beneath a flowering tree. On each was engraved a name, Janghwa and Hongryeon, and a single line beneath, "Injustice may be buried, but truth always blooms again." To this day, when lotus flowers bloom in pairs, some say the sisters are still watching.